Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. It's been 4 days since one of the biggest mass shootings in history. Most people still have more questions than answers about the gunman and particularly his motive. But if you've been watching any of the late-night comedy shows or certain cable news outlets,
I can only say that I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we live in a world where there are people who will put a gun before your lives.
You want to make America great again? Pass any kind of common sense gun control legislation.
The Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, the Speaker of the House Paul Ryan, a number of other lawmakers who won't do anything about this because the NRA has their on the money clip, also sent their thoughts and their prayers today, which is good. They should be praying. They should be praying for God to forgive them for letting the gun lobby run this country.
you know those mysteries have been solved already. According to them, the real perpetrators are law-abiding gun owners and the organizations that represent them. Not an overstatement. Watch this.
Do you feel like they're complicit, the GOP, the NRA, in the gun epidemic we're seeing in America?
Of course they are. Of course they are.
Break from the NRA, which is making things worse, and work with us to get something done.
Let's face it, the reason we don't have gun safety measures in the United States today is because of the NRA.
Well, Chris Cox is the executive director of the NRA Institute for Legislative Action, and he joins us on the set tonight. How do you feel when you see that, Chris? You watch 58 people murdered in public, and then you see yourself personally blamed for those murders.
Tucker, the American people are struggling. They're grieving. And so are the 5 million men and women of the National Rifle Association. The truth is that there are NRA members at that concert. There were NRA members shot at that concert and NRA members murdered at that concert. So the American people are looking for answers, and so are we.
So the NRA that was blamed for the shootings, was the shooter himself an NRA member? Have you checked?
Of course not. And that's the one thing that's consistent, is they blame the one organization whose members don't commit the crimes.
Huh. So you know that for certain?
Yes.
Okay. Then why are people blaming you? Hillary Clinton wasted not a second leveraging the attacks in Las Vegas. This morning she tweeted, quote, "The crowd fled at the sound of gunshots. Imagine the deaths if the shooter had a silencer, which the NRA wants to make easier to get." Clinton then added, without a trace of irony, "Our grief is not enough. We must put politics aside, stand up to the NRA, and work together to try to stop this from happening again." What's the agenda, do you think?
Well, you know, the agenda, Dianne Feinstein said it herself when she said if I had 51 votes, Mr. and Miss America, turn them all in, that's what she would do.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it.
And look, there are legitimate questions.
Turn them all in, meaning turn your guns in.
Turn your guns in. And right now, the American people are looking for answers, but the American people are also looking for their Second Amendment. They're looking for Congress to respect the Second Amendment, and that's why we're calling on Congress to do something. Let ATF do their job, and Congress needs to do their job. Allow good, honest people the ability to defend themselves, pass reforms like national right to carry reciprocity, and then have a broader conversation about what we can do to keep people safer, because if we go down this road of gun control, we can look at it. You know, universal background checks. This guy passed background checks. Well, let's go the route of California, where they've banned semi-autos, banned magazines, pushed waiting periods, they have ammo registration, but that didn't stop a massacre in San Bernardino, and it didn't stop a massacre in Santa Barbara. So they say, well, let's look a little bit further. You know, let's look at Europe and let's implement European-style gun control. Well, you know what? That's what they did in Paris when someone came in with fully automatic machine guns and hand grenades and murdered people there. There's a consequence to this, Tucker, and the consequence is good, honest people are left defenseless. The National Rifle Association exists to make sure that doesn't happen in America.
So what is the solution?
Well, the solution is to make sure that we address the underlying problems. This distraction of gun control does nothing to keep people safe. Gun control is a failed policy. We've tried it, and it's safe to say that it doesn't keep people safe. So do we need to have a broader conversation about activities that actually will? Do we need to have a broader conversation about Hollywood? You know, that the NRA spends millions of dollars every year teaching safe and responsible gun ownership, and Hollywood makes billions promoting and glorifying gun violence. And then the same hypocrites come in and suggest that we're to blame for this. So there needs to be an honest conversation about solutions that work, and one of those solutions is to make sure the Second Amendment is supported, protected, and that law-abiding good people have the ability to use and carry a gun for self-defense. We're focused on keeping Congress out of Second Amendment freedoms, keeping Congress focused on expanding the rights of law-abiding people to protect themselves and their families. That's what the American people want, and that's what the National Rifle Association wants.
Chris Cox, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Tucker.
Appreciate it.